Let's look at the first game from move number 19. In this position, black played bishop to d5, removing this bishop and this knight forcefully from the e file, either by exchanging it or if the knight moves away on it by itself. Now if this knight moves away, note another point, that this c5 pawn is practically hanging, because if you capture it, the pawn cannot recapture without the fall of this knight. And now if white plays queen takes a7, black has a discovered attack on the rook. Rook takes e8 will also not be an option for white, as after rook takes e8, instead of capturing this bishop back, he has to save checkmate on e1. But in the actual game, queen takes a7 was played first. Black responded with bishop takes e5, d takes e5, and now queen to g4, threatening mate on g2. Now white has to save g2, so he has to move this f pawn either to f3 or to f4, so that his rook can keep an eye on g2. Now f4 seems a bit more logical, as it prevents the range of this queen to come anywhere here to support this knight or attack this rook, and it also gives additional support to the e5 pawn. But in the game, f3 was played, which is actually a blunder. So now black played bishop takes f3, because g takes f3 cannot be recaptured. White plays rook to f2, rook takes e5, and now again white played rook takes f3, another blunder. Black played queen d4 check, king f1, queen c4 check, king f2, queen d4 check, king f1, queen c4 check, king f2. So this repeated twice, and now black played queen h4 check. Now if you go to f1, there is mate by the rook e1, so you must make space for the rook to save you. So white played king g1, and after rook e1 check, rook f1. Now guess what black played? I'll give you a hint. The f1 rook is pinned by this e1 rook to the king. So how does black remove the king from the defense of this rook? Yes, he played queen d4 check. And now the only way white can save his rook is by playing rook and the game, because if he moves to king h1, then rook f1 mate. So white played bishop to e3, black played queen takes e3, and now king h1, so that either of the rook black captures, the other rook can recapture it. So after rook takes a1 and rook takes a1, overall black is a pawn up. Now as you can see, both white and black have back rank problems, but the problem of black is not that prominent, and he has everything defended by each other. So black again builds up on white's problem by playing rook to e8, and now white should solve this problem by moving a pawn and creating space for the king, but instead he played rook to f1. Black in response played h5, but the stockfish gives another possibility, quite good one, that is queen to f2, with the idea that the rook cannot capture it because of rook e1, rook f1 and rook takes f1 mate. And if the rook moves to g1, then the knight can come and put some attack on the king. For example, if you capture the queen on f2, knight takes f2 is checkmate. And let's say you move the queen away to somewhere like a4, even then there is a checkmate by queen takes g1 check, king takes g1, and rook e1 checkmate. Even the f2 is controlled by the knight. So neither can the queen capture black's queen, nor can it move away. So it is clear that in the next move, black will be able to capture white's queen and win the game. So that was a missed opportunity. Anyway, moving on with what was played in the game, that is h5. Now white creates space for his king. At the end, white used a small stalemate trick to draw the game.